Hello everybody, hope you had a nice weekend. This is our English lesson, Year 5 for Monday the 8th of June. I'm going to do this in two parts. So this first part is going to be me talking to you about modal verbs, a bit of a grammar focus for today, and sharing some examples with you. And then the second part, another recording on YouTube where you can pause and work through some of the activities at your own pace. Okay, it should all make sense. Anyway, okay, so today I want you to think about modal verbs, and what I would like you to do, please, is make sure you've got a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper. If you haven't, pause me quickly to go and get that. And then I want you to make some notes in terms of what I'm talking about, because if you were to make a sort of information poster about modal verbs, then that can help you to refer back to at different points. Okay? So what are modal verbs? You have used these in your writing. You say them all the time. And lots of you probably wouldn't have a clue that you're doing that. Okay? So what are they? Modal verbs, you can't use them on your own. They're kind of like, they're called auxiliary verbs, which means they're sort of helpful verbs, but they need to be used with other ones. Okay, and we use modal verbs to talk about the likelihood, the possibility, the probability, the certainty, etc. of things happening. Okay, so for example, will, would, can, could, shall, should, might, may are a number of modal verbs. Now you can't use those on their own. So for example, you wouldn't be able to say, I will the cat. You would need to have another verb with it. So you would say something like, I don't know, I will feed the cat, or I will look after the cat, or I will wash the cat. Okay, another example, I can the food. That wouldn't make sense, would it? Can is an example of a modal verb. Okay, but I can the food doesn't make any sense. You would need to say something else. So for example, I can prepare the food, I can chop the food, I can serve the food. Okay, can is a modal verb. Would is another modal verb. Sorry, I'm a bit uncomfortable in this chair. Would is another modal verb, so W-O-U-L-D. Okay, I would the letter. Doesn't make any sense, does it? So you would need to have another verb to use with would for it to make sense. So for example, I would send the letter if I were you. I would tear up the letter. I would rewrite the letter. I would ignore the letter. Okay, so lots of different verbs that you could use with it to make it have sense, but you wouldn't just be able to say, I would the letter. Okay, let me give you one more example off the top of my head. So, should is a modal verb. Okay, I should the homework. Doesn't quite make sense, does it? But if I was to put another verb with should, for example, I should finish the homework, I should redo the homework, I should give in the homework, I should check the homework, can I get a fifth one? I should, I should restart the homework. Okay, those ideas make sense, but if you were to say I should the homework by itself, it wouldn't make any sense. And in that case, should is an example of a modal verb. So which ones did I give earlier? Okay, and remember these think about it as well. These verbs, you can negate them, as in you can put them into the negative. So for example, could, you could also have couldn't, should, shouldn't, will, won't, can, can't, etc. And they still are modal verbs. Okay? So if you want to pause me for a few seconds, so we've got things like can, could, would, should, shall, will, might, may, and then you've got the negative versions. Ought is another one, O-U-G-H-T. I ought to remember that next time without forgetting, okay? Yeah, they're examples of modal verbs. So if you just want to pause me and make a few notes on those, then do so. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at the Strange Ways, the Strange World, gosh, I keep on calling it Strange Ways, the Strange Worlds Travel Agency. Okay, and I'm going to read you a few examples of sentences in here where there are modal verbs being used. Okay? Okay, I'm looking at page 1. Here we go. Oops, sorry. You can see it if you look close enough. You can see it. Can is a modal verb. You might see an ancient horse and cart passing down a modern high street. You might. Might is a modal. Okay. Page 3. Jonathan Mercator was working. At least that's what he would claim to be doing if you asked him. That's what he would claim to be doing. Would is a modal verb. This example's on page 4. Ah, well then, if your phone says this is the place, it must be correct. It must be correct. Must is a modal verb. Okay, page 5. What on earth would I need a computer for? What on earth would I need a computer for? Would, modal verb. This is leaping forward quite a bit, page 101, but we did read it the other day. She tried to cover her disappointment. I should have texted you or something, not just turned up. I should have texted you. Should is a modal verb. And then just a couple of lines under that. Would you excuse me? Would, we've already had a couple of examples of would, haven't we? Would is a modal verb. Okay, page 88. I need help, Jonathan said softly. I can't take care of strange words. I can't take care of strange worlds on my own. I can't. Can't is a modal verb and it's the negative form of can. Okay, but it's a modal verb. I think that's probably enough examples for now. I'll give you one more, sorry. No, in fact, I'll give you 2 more. There must always be a head custodian. So just like I mentioned an example on page 1, must is a modal verb. And last one then, the sort of carnage you could unleash if you brought back a creature from another world. That's on page 87. The sort of carnage you could is a modal verb. Now what I want you to do, only spend absolutely no more than 10 minutes on this, okay? I want you to pick up a book, okay? If you've got your own copy of this, you can use this, but any novel will do. And I want you to pick it up and I want you to go to random pages in here or in your book, and I want you to see how many sentences you can find that contain modal verbs. Okay, so for example, can or can't, should or shouldn't, will or won't, would or wouldn't, must or mustn't, might, ought. Did I say should or shouldn't? I think I probably did, but yeah, okay, can and can't. Okay, sorry if I've just repeated a couple of those, but that's what you're looking out for. So no more than 10 minutes, flick through a book of your choice and see how many sentences you can find with modal verbs in them. Okay, and once you've done that, go on to part 2 of this lesson. Okay, see you in a bit.